In 2023, more than 170,000 New Yorkers relocated to Texas, making New York the third largest source of new residents for the Lone Star State. Why are so many New Yorkers increasingly choosing Texas as their new home? Let's explore some of the reasons why New Yorkers are leaving the Empire State and moving to Texas. 8. Growing homelessness in New York State. New York boasts a significantly larger homeless population. Estimates suggest roughly 303,200 people experience homelessness on any given night in the state. The 2023 point-in-time count revealed a 12% increase in homelessness in New York State, with a disproportionate number concentrated in New York City. Texas, in contrast, has a much lower homeless population, estimated at around 103,200 statewide. Texas has implemented policies like Housing First initiatives, which prioritize getting people into stable housing quickly. The Texas Tribune reported a 4% decrease in homelessness in 2023. 7. High crime rates. New York and Texas, two titans of the American landscape, paint vastly different pictures when it comes to crime. While perceptions often portray New York as a crime haven and Texas as a bastion of safety, a closer look reveals a more nuanced reality. Looking at raw numbers, Texas boasts a lower overall crime rate than New York. According to FBI data 2023, Texas's violent crime rate sits at 431.9 per 100,000 residents, compared to New York's 649.3. However, this doesn't tell the whole story. The disparity becomes clearer when examining property crime. Texas enjoys a significantly lower property crime rate than New York. According to the New York State Comptroller's Office, major property crimes jumped by 19% in 2023 compared to the previous year. 6. High tax burden in New York. The American tax landscape varies greatly across state lines. New York boasts the dubious honor of having the highest overall tax burden in the nation. This translates to a significant chunk of residents' income being directed towards state and local coffers. The state levies a graduated income tax, meaning higher earners pay a larger percentage. The top marginal rate sits at a hefty 10.9%, coupled with high sales taxes that can reach over 8.5% depending on the locality. Property taxes also contribute significantly, with an average effective rate of 1.54%. Texas, in stark contrast, is a haven for low tax enthusiasts. The state famously lacks a personal income tax, allowing residents to keep more of their hard-earned money. Sales tax in Texas is also capped at a relatively low 6.25%. Although local jurisdictions can add a bit more, while property taxes can be high in some areas, the lack of income tax makes Texas a financially attractive destination for many. Let's illustrate the impact with an example. Imagine Sarah, a young professional making $100,000 annually. In New York, she could face a combined state and local income tax of roughly $10,000, along with potentially $8,500 in sales tax and $1,500 in property taxes. This translates to a significant portion of her income, over 20%, going towards taxes. In Texas, Sarah would keep the entire $10,000 income tax burden in her pocket. Sales tax would likely be lower, at around $6,250, and property taxes could vary. However, even assuming a high property tax of $3,000, Sarah's total tax bill would be considerably lower than in New York, potentially saving her over $10,000 annually. 5. High cost of living. New York and Texas stand in stark contrast when it comes to the cost of living. In the bustling metropolis of New York, life moves at 1,000,000 miles an hour, fueled by ambition and a hefty price tag. Conversely, Texas offers a more relaxed pace and a significantly lighter burden on your wallet. Let's delve into the specifics that paint this economic portrait. Housing is a prime example. Finding a shoebox apartment in a desirable area of New York City can easily cost upwards of $3,300 a month. In contrast, a comparable apartment in a major Texas city like Houston or Dallas could be had for half the price. This disparity extends beyond the urban core. Even suburban living carries a premium in New York, while Texas offers spacious options at a fraction of the cost. Transportation costs are another area of disparity. New York City's extensive subway system comes at a price. Monthly Metro cards can cost over $110. Owning a car in New York adds parking fees and exorbitant insurance costs. Conversely, Texans rely heavily on personal vehicles, with gas prices typically lower than the national average. Daily necessities paint a similar picture. Groceries might be marginally cheaper in Texas, but the true difference lies in dining out. A casual lunch in New York City can easily set you back $20, while a comparable meal in Texas might cost half that. Entertainment follows suit. Broadway tickets can break the bank, while catching a live band in Austin won't leave you needing a second mortgage. Imagine Sarah, a young professional, making $80,000 annually in New York City, after taxes and factoring in the high cost of living. She might struggle to afford a decent apartment and a basic lifestyle. In Austin, Texas, with the same salary and significantly lower expenses, Sarah could enjoy a spacious apartment, own a car, and have more disposable income for leisure activities. However, it's important to consider the flip side. New York offers higher salaries, especially in specialized fields like finance and technology. While a teacher in Dallas might make $50,000 annually, their counterpart in New York City could earn closer to $75,000. 4. Poverty. New York and Texas, two of America's most populous states, paint a contrasting picture when it comes to poverty. New York consistently boasts a higher poverty rate than Texas. In 2023, according to the New York State Office of the Comptroller, 18.1% of New Yorkers lived below the poverty line, compared to 12.1% nationally. Texas, on the other hand, had a poverty rate of 15.7%. This difference can be attributed in part to the high cost of living in New York, particularly housing. A modest apartment in New York City can easily consume a significant portion of a minimum wage income, leaving little for food, healthcare, and other essentials. Consider the city of Buffalo, New York. Despite revitalization efforts, Buffalo has a poverty rate exceeding 28%. In contrast, Houston, Texas, with a lower overall cost of living and a strong energy sector, has a poverty rate closer to 18%. The contrasting situations in New York and Texas highlight the complex issue of poverty. Striking a balance between a robust social safety net and a thriving job market is crucial. New York might explore streamlining its social programs to incentivize work and reduce the tax burden on businesses. Texas, on the other hand, could consider bolstering its social safety net to provide a stronger support system for those struggling financially. 3. Inflation. Housing costs are a major driver of inflation, and in this domain, the differences between New York and Texas are stark. New York, particularly New York City, boasts some of the highest rents in the nation, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Shelter prices in the New York-Newark Jersey City area rose by 7.0% year-on-year in May 2024, significantly outpacing the national average. In contrast, Texas, with its sprawling suburbs and relatively abundant housing options, has witnessed a more moderate increase in housing costs. Beyond housing, everyday essentials are also impacted by inflation. Grocery prices have risen nationwide, but New Yorkers may feel it more acutely. Due to higher transportation and distribution costs, groceries often carry a premium in densely populated areas. Imagine a New Yorker budgeting for a weekly grocery haul. A carton of milk that cost $3.50 last year might now be $4, seemingly insignificant on its own. But alongside other price hikes, it adds up. Conversely, a Texan family in a less populated area might see a smaller increase on that same carton of milk. 2. Traffic congestion in New York versus Texas. New York, a densely populated state with a robust public transportation network, holds the dubious honor of being the traffic congestion champion. New York City, in particular, consistently ranks among the worst in the nation. Here, a combination of factors fuels the gridlock. A high number of vehicles vying for limited road space, narrow streets designed for a bygone era, and a reliance on personal cars despite extensive subway and bus options. A 2022 study found New York drivers lost an average of 129 hours a year in congestion. translating to significant economic and environmental costs. Texas, on the other hand, presents a different picture. Its urban centers, while experiencing growth, boast a less congested environment compared to New York. Houston, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Austin see their share of traffic jams, particularly during peak hours. However, the sprawling nature of these cities, with wider roads and a focus on car-centric infrastructure, helps alleviate some of the pressure. The Texas Department of Transportation actively tackles congestion by expanding highways and promoting alternative routes. While not entirely immune, Texas drivers typically lose considerably fewer hours in traffic compared to their New York counterparts. 1. Rising cost of childcare. New York consistently ranks among the most expensive states for childcare. Factors like high living costs, regulations, and competition for qualified childcare providers contribute to this burden. According to recent data, the average annual cost of infant care in New York can reach $15,394, while toddlers can cost upwards of $14,000. This staggering cost can force some families into difficult decisions, such as delaying re-entry into the workforce, or relying on less regulated childcare options. In contrast, Texas offers a more affordable childcare environment. The average annual cost for infants in Texas is significantly lower, hovering around $9,324, with toddlers costing approximately $8,000. This disparity reflects a lower cost of living and potentially less stringent regulations in Texas. While affordability is a benefit, concerns may arise regarding the quality and availability of childcare options at these price points. Why Texas shines brighter than New York. For decades, New York has been synonymous with American progress. However, the 21st century narrative seems to be shifting. Texas, with its sprawling cities, booming economy, and the allure of wide open spaces, is increasingly seen as a contender for the title of brightest future. While New York retains undeniable strengths, Texas's current trajectory suggests it might be poised for even greater heights. One of Texas's biggest advantages is its population boom. People are flocking to the state, drawn by its lower cost of living, business-friendly environment, and lack of state income tax. This influx translates into a youthful and energetic workforce, fueling economic growth. In contrast, New York struggles with high living expenses, driving out young professionals and families. This demographic shift could have long-term consequences for the state's economic vitality. Texas also boasts a diversified economy. While oil and gas remain important, the state has fostered growth in sectors like technology, healthcare, and manufacturing. This diversification makes it less susceptible to economic downturns tied to specific industries. New York, on the other hand, relies heavily on finance and professional services. While these sectors can be lucrative, their vulnerability to market fluctuations poses a risk. Furthermore, Texas's embrace of innovation is a significant advantage. Cities like Austin have become hubs for tech startups and entrepreneurship, fostering a culture of creativity and risk-taking. This focus on the future stands in contrast to New York's more established, and sometimes staid, business environment. While New York has its share of innovation, Texas seems to be cultivating a more fertile ground for new ideas to flourish. In conclusion, both Texas and New York have their own set of strengths and weaknesses. However, Texas's booming population, diversified economy, and focus on innovation positions it for a potentially brighter future. New York will need to adapt to changing demographics and embrace new ideas to stay competitive. The coming decades will be a fascinating test to see which state emerges as the true leader in the 21st century.